I am live. It's a Neil Diamond song, isn't it? It's actually I'm Alive. I'm not going to sing, by the way. I was just singing here, though. It's The End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine by REM, or End of the World, or wherever that song is called. Because I went on to Twitter to try to tell people, hey, go on live here in a minute. And Twitter was like, TweetDeck. What do I have? TweetDeck, TweetBot, TweetDeck. TweetDeck said, Twitter is over capacity. So we can't tweet for you right now. So then I logged into Twitter on Safari, and it just said, hey, something went wrong. It turns out what went wrong is it's over capacity. So, and that made me sing It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine. So unfortunately, I couldn't let everybody know that we're going live. So if anybody else can tweet and they want to tweet this, that's great. Or we can just do the thing because, we can just do the thing. Thank you, people who are here, by the way. I'm not complaining. Just telling you why I was singing that classic REM song. Later, I'll do all kinds of classic REM hits. Yeah, still over capacity, still not working. So I'm just going to shut that down and forget about it. Hello, Laura. Hello, Rad3. You told me the other day, and I'm sorry, I'm losing track of that. I apologize. Hey, Chuck Joiners is here. We got fun and games, Chuck. We got fun and games. I'd be more inclined to sing Toxicity, though. Go a little deeper than that. Although, I was going, when I was in LA a year or two ago, I was frequenting a deli that was next to a store, next to a restaurant, where GNR used to go hang out after gigs. Cantor's Deli. Hey, thanks, Amanda. Right. I think it might be Amanda's first time here. So let me tell you really quickly, Amanda, I don't usually pay any attention to the chat during the show, but stick around after because I do talk, I go over the stuff that happened there after. Thank goodness you found this. I don't know if you've heard about Twitter. Right. I'm going to go ahead and get in. I'm going to go ahead and get in. I'll make any apologies I need to make later. Here we go. 5G or not 5G, and getting a new iPhone's not what it used to be. It is Thursday, the 15th of October, and this is macOS Ken Live. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not what it used to be. We'll talk about that later. Hi, Ken Ray. Thanking you very much for joining us for this thing. If you're live here on YouTube right now, thank you very much for being here. If you're catching this later on YouTube, thanks for being wherever you are now. And how was it? And maybe it'll be an audio podcast someday. Who can say? Second half of the show, we are going to talk about how getting an iPhone has changed. And just some things that it made me think about as I was thinking about the iPhone that I'm not getting. I'm just not. Leave me alone. Before that, though, and I don't know that I feel good about this, but I just can't help it. I can't get my head out of the 5G thing. There's so many things that I am wondering about. I feel like all the conversations that we have had here over the past few weeks about 5G kind of got changed a lot over the past couple of days. And that all has to do with the carriers and the subsidy wars that are, the carrier wars and the massive subsidies that are coming now from Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, which used to be, T-Mobile and Sprint, and now it's just T-Mobile. All of a sudden, I don't get it, especially because of the guy from AT&T a couple of weeks ago. All of a sudden, apparently, we care about 5G. And what's interesting is we're nerds. I mean, no offense, but you're joining me in the late afternoon, early evening to talk about tech stuff. You're kind of a nerd, which is okay, because so am I. We're nerds. I would think that we would be the ones that would be super excited about 5G. Have we just become jaded? Are we realists about the whole thing? Because all of a sudden we're hearing from, we've heard from Wall Street for a while that this is going to set off a super cycle, that 5G coming to iPhone is going to set off a super cycle. I am almost ready to argue that it is iPhone that's going to set off the 5G super cycle, not the other way around. And I think that's a subtle distinction. And I'm not sure I stated it correctly, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Or I guess we're actually already there. I don't know. Look, do we care about the new iPhone because it has 5G, or do we care about the new iPhone because it's the new iPhone? Are people going to sign up with Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile to get 5G, or are they going to get 5G because they were getting the new iPhone anyway? I can't remember which. Well, it's all of them, except for the ones that are against it. Rod Hall does not see a super cycle coming. He has a sell rating on Apple shares right now and a price target of $80. Tony Sacconaghi has a hold rating. A couple of other people have hold ratings. The ones who have buy ratings are super excited about the super cycle that's coming for the iPhone. But I'm thinking about some numbers I saw in the past few months that said the upgrade window for iPhone has gotten so elongated at this point that you almost can't see a super cycle anymore because there are so many people that are on longer upgrade cycles. Lots of people are going to buy the next iPhone. I mean, assuming it doesn't fall apart in your hand, assuming it doesn't cut you, for a lot of people, it's time for the next iPhone. And it's time for the next iPhone, whether it has 5G or, is still doing 4G or whatever. I know I talked about this here a few weeks ago. I'm reminded of something that one of the times that I was on Mac Break Weekly, and this was a long time ago because the iPhone didn't even have 4G yet. It was still 3G. 4G was starting to roll out places, and Leo argued that Apple had made a mistake by not launching 4G because he said everybody wants a 4G phone. I responded that what everybody wanted was an iPhone, and that bore out. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but it's not like iPhone sales were hurt by not having 4G. Would iPhone sales have been hurt this year if they hadn't had 5G? It's almost a moot point because it was going to have 5G anyway. But it feels to me like it's not 5G that's boosting the iPhone. It almost feels to me like it's the iPhone that's boosting 5G. Now, the thing isn't even out yet. We haven't seen any sales numbers. We are, of course, not going to see sales numbers, but we haven't seen sellout or anything like that yet. And this may all be angels dancing on the head of a pin kind of talk anyway. We may never know. Maybe they're both hitting at just the right time. It feels to me, again, with the massive subsidies coming from AT&T and Verizon, it feels to me like this is the early days of iPhone again. I jokingly said in the Daily Blast, which is a daily newsletter that goes out. It's basically the script for Mac OS Ken. It goes out to a tier of my Patreon supporters. The headline today was the second coming of telephony. It's the Jesus phone all over again, it seems. But it's not saving us, it's saving the carriers. Not saving them, but you get the idea. I feel like the shoe is on Apple's foot this time around. We've talked here about how mixed up the messaging has been around 5G, basically how nobody has really made clear to me personally and some other people that I've talked to why it is they actually need it. Apparently, Verizon has hit with an ad that is super exciting. The only problem is it's not accurate, I guess is the word you would use. Completely honest would be 2 words if you want to go that way. This is from VentureBeat. The Better Business Bureau's National Programs, National Advertising Division, that is all one title, NAD, we will call it for this, is basically called Verizon to the carpet for the way that it's advertising its 5G. T-Mobile, God love them, launched a complaint about the way Verizon was advertising their stuff. And it sounds like T-Mobile had real grievances here. So the NAD found that while Verizon fairly claimed that its ultra-wideband service was 10 times faster than T-Mobile's 5G, its advertising either needs to convey a message about what consumers can typically expect to achieve network-wide or modify its demonstrations to depict the typical network speeds. So basically that 4 gigabits per second, remind me, I need to correct that. Basically that 4 gigabits per second down that they talked about, they're apparently, when they're showing off their stuff in the ad, which makes sense, they're showing themselves in the best possible light. The problem is the ultra wideband is so sparse right now. almost nobody, like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, remember when they said that there's nobody in the universe because space is so big and people are so small that if you average out space versus people, there are literally no living beings in the universe. Ultra wideband isn't quite that bad, but I mean, you're not going to get it that soon. I think they said 60 cities by the end of this year. But even then, you're talking about the, densely, you're talking about downtown where nobody is going. They also need to permanently discontinue 5G built right for firefighters and 5G built right for first responders, according to NAD, because while it may be fine for them, ultra wideband is not going to work inside. I mean, it will work indoors at some point, but not immediately. Ultra wideband is the thing that we keep hearing from people can get blocked by Windows, not the operating system. Can get blocked by brick walls, can get blocked by trees. And so, you don't want to send somebody who's going in to save lives in with the false idea that they're covered. Other problems listed in the advertising complaint: Verizon claimed that 5G was faster than home internet connections, which requires quantification. And they said their service meant that customers didn't have to worry about lag, which there's no evidence to support that yet. Verizon suggested its typical 4G download speed was over 120 megabits per second, compared with a typical T-Mobile 5G speed of 20 megabits per second, numbers that were apparently reached with inconsistent benchmarks. I'm going to forget. So let me tell you really quickly. A couple of days ago when we were doing the recap of the high-speed event, I had pointed out a disparity between what Apple had said and Verizon had said. I missed part of it, which is dumb because I watched it twice. But apparently Apple has said the same thing that Verizon has said, that in optimal conditions, iPhone 12 has achieved 4 gigabits down. I misunderstood. So sorry about that. It's Jake Robb at It's Jake Robb on Twitter pointed that out to me. And I do thank him for doing that. And I really don't understand how I missed it because I seriously watched the whole thing twice. So here's what's really interesting. Well, first of all, the NAD, has had issues with the way 5G has been presented all the way along, not the least of which is the 5GE that was on AT&T phones. Yeah, so this is not new for them. What's really interesting to me is Verizon's like, yeah, you know what? My bad. Verizon says it will comply with the NAD's findings, though what that'll look like remains to be seen. Also, nobody's going to care. I'm pretty sure nobody's going to care because they're excited about the iPhone, right? If it's even marginally faster, I think people are going to be happy. If it's not even marginally faster, people are buying the next iPhone. The people who are buying the next iPhone are buying the next iPhone, that is. I know some people are getting it for the speed. Nobody's going to be angry with Apple about that. They may wonder whether they signed on with the right carrier. And by the way, we're back to that. It's hilarious to me that it's like, so we all used to have unlimited plans. And then all the carriers are like, right, we're done with unlimited plans. So you got to choose and you got to know how much you're using. And we're done with subsidies. And oh, what's that, a 5G phone? But we need to sell 5G service. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do unlimited plans and give away free phones. Everything old is new again, apparently. The thing that I keep coming back to about whether or not we're excited about 5G, it behooves the carriers to tell us that we are, because they have spent billions of dollars upgrading their system. It's really interesting. What was the article that I was reading yesterday? That they need to fill their practically empty 5G networks. It's like they built a theme park and didn't tell anybody or didn't sell advance tickets. Or it's like they built a highway and then they're like, right, we need cars. Well, actually, you need cars. We need for you to be excited about cars. And then we need to sell you cars. And by the way, we're going to lock you into a contract. I love Bloomberg using the word free. They kept saying that Verizon, is giving away free iPhones. Free. with a 2-year contract to qualified applicants. Free! I feel certain that there were other 5G thoughts that I had that I wanted to bring up, but the 5G story is going to continue. And so if I missed any, well, you don't know because you're not in there. I was pointing to my head, by the way, for people who are just listening and not watching. I want to remind you really quickly of something that I did. I don't know whether this is going to be a 2-part thing or a 3-part thing. We're going to get to why buying an iPhone isn't what it used to be in a moment. I was on Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner earlier this week. Although to say that I was on Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner that's accurate, but it doesn't even come close. Chuck Joyner is the host of Mac Voices. He's the producer. He is just a machine as far as generating content and talking to interesting people about interesting stuff. Plus, occasionally he asks me if I want to be on. So that's interesting. The day of the high-speed event, he got Brittany Smith. How do I keep mispronouncing Smith? The day of the high-speed event, he got Brittany Smith, Kelly Gumont, Mark Fuccio, David Ginsburg, Jeff Gamet, Frederick Van Johnson, and me to talk about our impressions of the stuff that we saw. And we all do great impressions of Tim Cook, by the way. I wish that was true. I wish we had actually done impressions of Tim Cook. I only do one Tim Cook impression. And we've made a video. That's it. It's also my Al Gore imitation, by the way, in case you're wondering. Anyway, we talked for about an hour and a half. I think usually Chuck divides these into 2. I assume it's going to be 2 this time. Part 2 came out today. So macvoices.com, or you can look for the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found. Look under your chair. You get a podcast, and you get a podcast, and yeah, macvoices.com would be the easiest way to find where you can find it. Right. When I say that buying an iPhone is not what it used to be, that's not a complaint. I know that sounds like a complaint. I will say I am a tiny bit wistful for a couple of things. It was practically prescient of Angela Arendt to say we're done with lines. Because can you imagine if every year Apple had been getting people to line up in droves for iPhone, and then we get to 2020? I'm not saying they were getting ready for a world-girding pandemic, but you're kind of not going to feel it as far as buying an iPhone this year. I mean, I personally, for my iPhone 8, I think it was, I did make an appointment. I went down to the store. I picked up the iPhone physically, I believe, but honestly, I don't remember anymore. I know that there have been several that have turned up on my doorstep now. So Apple's ready for today as far as getting an iPhone is concerned. When I say it's not the same thing that it was, though, I was an idiot when the first iPhone came out. I was on the fence about whether or not I was getting an iPhone, mostly because I worked for somebody who was a wealth manager. And he thought that I was a moron for, wanting to spend, what was it, $600, $700 on the first iPhone? I can't remember how much it was now, but it was not a small amount. And it was guilt that kept me from standing in line all day. But I still remember walking past the Powell Street store in San Francisco and seeing the line just go and go and go and go and go. And still everybody got an iPhone. Ended up getting an iPhone a week later anyway, worked some kind of deal, whatever. The following year, I stood in line for my iPhone 3G for a total of 12 hours, 13 hours maybe, because I went the first day, and I don't know if you remember, but that was the day that you had to activate it in store. And so the computers kept crashing, and AT&T blamed Apple. Apple blamed AT&T. I stood there until the last minute before I had to get to downtown San Francisco from Oakland to get to work. And then I went back the next day and stood there for another 7 hours, I think. Read most of a novel over those 2 days standing in line. That wasn't fun. The first year was fun because you were standing in line with people. I mean, I interviewed people in the line. I didn't actually stand in the line myself. But the first year was fun. There was like a circus atmosphere. The second year, because of the crashes, it became less fun, especially if you were there by yourself, like I was. That may have been the last time I stood in line for an iPhone. That can't be. There must have been one other time. Anyway, when you started being able to order them, then people were staying up until the middle of the night. It was funny because I would watch my Twitter feed go nuts with everybody saying, got it, 45 seconds, got it, minute and a half, had it saved, got it, all those things. It's become a business transaction now. It's always been a business transaction, but it's not, weird rock and roll party, stay up late and do it. I mean, unless you live in Hawaii. Mac Rumors, I think it is, came out with a list of times because they're launching this thing worldwide still. They're not going to have the lines, of course. Tonight, no, not tonight. See, I still think in those terms. Tomorrow, you will be able to order either an iPhone 12 or an iPhone 12 Pro. iPhone 12 mini and iPhone 12 Pro Max are coming out in November. Can't remember the date. I think it's the 6th. Yes, it is the 6th because then they ship on Friday the 13th. The ones that you can order tomorrow ship on next Friday, the 23rd of October. Here are your times. 2 a.m. in Hawaii, 4 a.m. in Anchorage, Alaska, 5 a.m. in Cupertino, 8 a.m. New York City. Figure out the mountain time zone and the central time zone yourself. 1 p.m. in London, 4 p.m. in Dubai, 8 p.m. in Perth, Australia, 11 p.m. in Sydney, Australia, and Auckland, New Zealand has to wait until 1 a.m. Saturday. Of course, that's all the exact same time. Here in the States, you don't stay up and do the rock and roll thing anymore. You get up early like a respectable person and you order your iPhone. I say it's not what it used to be, but it hasn't been what it used to be for a while. Nothing really is what it used to be, or most things aren't anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's been the solitary thing lately. You get the phone, you sit there by yourself, you make all the changes, and then it's done. And then you go on Twitter, if you can, and show pictures, people of the unboxing, which you took with the iPhone that you have suddenly abandoned. I'm curious if any of you guys or gals or anybody listening is getting the new iPhone tomorrow or a new iPhone tomorrow. Not getting one, of course, but ordering one. Tell me if you are, and tell me why you are. I'm really interested about that. Is anybody here, anybody listening, getting the new iPhone because it has 5G? Are you getting the new iPhone because you get a new iPhone every year? Are you getting it because of that beautiful, beautiful blue color iPhone 12? Or are you getting it just because it was time to get a new iPhone? And you'll get what you get when you get it. And hopefully like it. A couple of ways to let me know. You can leave a comment with this video, or you can email me. Email is fantastic. Man, do I sound like a 60-year-old. Hey, you know what I just heard about? This email. And apologies to any 60-year-olds out there. I'll be 60 one day. Knock wood. The reason email is fantastic is because I, can just access that on my phone really quickly. Like this email, because we're at the feedback portion of the show, and I got some feedback. A longtime friend of mine named Mike, who I've actually known, golly, since 1776. We did that play together when we were in the 8th grade. He wrote in to say, listening to In a Few Minutes on Thursday, and I heard you say not including the wall wart doesn't bother you, in part because you have a whole bunch of them. I do as well. Although I will point out that unless you own an iPhone 11 Pro or maybe a recent iPad Pro, you likely don't have a USB-C wall wart. Since the iPhone 12 comes with the USB-C to Lightning cable, all those existing USB-A wall warts will be we've collected over the years won't help. Although I imagine some people will be able to use their existing USB-A to Lightning cable and existing Lightning cable for charging. It's so funny to me because I saw the USB-C to Lightning cable and thought, great, I am always on my Mac. I can just plug my phone in there. I forget that you don't have to have a Mac to have an iPhone. In fact, there are probably lots of people who would never consider getting a Mac who have iPhones and love them. So I just saw it honestly as like a fairly even trade, because I live inside my head, not everybody else's. Anyway, thank you very much for writing in, Mike. I do appreciate it. Who did you play in 1776? I was Ben Franklin. Mike Smith was John Adams. John Teasley was somebody. I shouldn't say people's names now that I'm saying it out loud. Whoops. Well, Mike is Mike Smith. If you can find that Mike Smith, you'll be doing us all a favor, because I know lots of people have looked and haven't been able to. Anyway, info@macoscan.com, I believe, is where we were going there. I want to know about the iPhone that you're getting. I want to know why you're getting that iPhone. I want to know how the whole process goes. And I want to know, will you please join me here tomorrow? 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, other times, other places. It's probably like day after tomorrow in New Zealand. Heck, I don't know. If you're here live, please stick around. I will talk in the chat room in just a moment. Everybody else, I hope to talk to you soon. Take care. Hey, I remembered to record it. That's awesome. Now, this part I don't record. I know it stays on YouTube, but this part's just for you and me and the people watching on YouTube. Who's here and how are you doing? Not tomorrow, waiting for the iPhone Pro Max, says Rad3D. I'm sorry, Rad3D. I can't remember your name. It's the worst. It's a new iPhone. We will always care, says Bill Kempthorne. Yes, I agree, Bill. I mean, I'll care. I'll be interested, but I'm wondering if you're going to get it. Vern says it's because we're nerds that we're not excited about 5G. Vern says we know how little 5G is going to benefit us, so we're not excited about it. Yeah, I see. That's the thing. Like having to, like, if you're going to go for the Verizon deal or you're going to go for the AT&T deal, and you're going to have to sign a 2-year contract for high-speed service, that's a big ask. I know their commercials say, "Hey, it's going to be fast," but without knowing, how do you know? And you've signed away for 2 years. I'm excited about my carrier, who is not sponsoring this show, so I'm not going to say the name, but they've got 5G all across the country. They are actually an MVNO running on T-Mobile's network. So, I mean, I guess it won't be as fast as standing with one hand on the Verizon building and the other hand on your phone. But that's not going to be true. I mean, that's going to be true for Verizon people as well. So maybe that is it. Vern. Yeah, that's true. Bill says the 3.5 and 4 gigabits numbers under ideal conditions become 1 under typical conditions in a big hurry. No doubt. I was just confused by the disparity between, it was weird to me that Verizon was saying we've achieved 4 and Apple was saying we've achieved 3.5, but it turns out Apple was also saying they've achieved 4. I don't know how I missed that both times. Vern's buying the 12 Pro Max for the cameras. I wonder if he's getting the blue. The blue just isn't as pretty as the cheap blue. It's because I have the taste of I buy cheap. There, I guess that's the best way to put it. Bill, taking my theme park analogy a little bit further, I said that it's like they built a theme park and didn't tell anybody. Bill says it's like they built a theme park, but almost everybody has to park a mile away and walk. That's going to be closer to 5G performance. It can be great, but you have to work at it. You and Nabil, Bill, you and Nabil should open a 5G consultancy explaining to people why 5G isn't what they think it is or how it could be. Hey, Donna says that the thing with Chuck might be in 3 parts. That wouldn't surprise me because it was an hour and a half long by the time we were done. Fern says it's not like it used to be, thank God. See, I miss some of that, though. I'm a late night person. Staying up to order the iPhone at 3 a.m. was never an issue for me. It was never a problem for me. Getting up to order an iPhone at 5 a.m. or 8 a.m, you're just telling me I have to stay up until 5 a.m. or 8 a.m. Yeah. Derek says he wants a new iPhone, but he got the iPhone 11 Pro Max last year, so he's trying to be responsible. Good for you, Derek. If you read this chat, you will see that 5G ain't gonna mean nothing to you. Nobody said ain't, and I'm not sure that that's true. Chuck Joyner says 3 parts. 3 parts. 3 parts. Part 3 is the one where I curse, right? I know it'll be bleeped out, but I cursed. It's too bad too, because I think it was funny when I cursed. Somebody else cursed on the thing, and we were all just like, because it sort of came out of nowhere. Mine also came out of nowhere, but it was hilarious. Sorry, Rob. Rob, of course, you wrote to me earlier this week. What a dope. Not you, me. Right. I think that is everything for today. God, I love you don't know what it does to me, for me, that you guys show up and do this every day. I mean, I know you can't do it every day, and that's fine. But looking up there and seeing, anybody hanging out and watching you guys chat while I'm sitting here chatting, I can't tell you how much it means. I mean, I'll try, but I can't come up with the words right now. So maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't know. In the meantime, I hope you guys have wonderful afternoons, evenings, nights, wherever you happen to be. If it's your first time here, tell friends, hit subscribe, do the like thing, whatever. And thank you. Talk to you soon.